next wildcard question will go to Ed Chiranchik. Ed, you want to talk about this? You are known as a transportation expert in many ways in this town, but as we reported, after the transit tax failed in Hillsborough County last November, you said that you thought it was a bad plan. But, Mr. Chiranchik, we don't believe you ever came out and joined the critics, the Tea Party folks or others who were critical of the plan. Instead, you were pretty quiet about your opposition. What should the public make of you taking that silent stance on such an important public issue? An issue that, we should add, was supported by the majority of voters in the city of Tampa.
Boy, it was a real challenging conflict for me because I really wanted the tax to pass because I knew we needed the revenue. Pam had done a phenomenal job, first mayor ever, to step up and lead this charge. And yet I know today that the plan was a really bad plan. And so kind of left in a quandary of what to do about it, and I took the position I did. I talked quietly to board members and other elected officials that said, look, you're going the wrong way here. We're spending $2.5 billion to move 14,000 people a day. They'll take an hour to get from USF to downtown. You know, I went and talked to officials at USF and said, what's the travel time on light rail from downtown to USF? They said 25 minutes. I said, it's actually 59 minutes. Well, no one would ride it. And people didn't know what was in the plan. And the board that was responsible for doing it, I just think they did a bad job. So I think we need to retool it, and you can go to my website and you can see a very specific plan about how we can move forward with an affordable
Thanks,
plan.
Ed. Anybody want to pick up on that question about Ed Chiranchik maybe not showing leadership on that issue?
Well, let me just speak to it from this point, that I've been to most of all of the cities in this nation relative to that light rail. Visited Dallas, Charlotte, Portland, San Diego, Philadelphia, Washington,
right.
They have been successful. Mm-hmm. I will tell you now, Charlotte got the money that we should have gotten from the federal government, and it turned that community, that city around. They are progressive. They are moving forward. I think they went back a couple of years to ask for additional, to continue expanding, and they've done that. And so I think we have to put together a comprehensive plan. I think we have to put out the right information because, as I recall, Hart was going to give them the information after the vote, but you have to do that up front. So I think you have to educate the community, have a comprehensive mass transportation plan that includes the city, the county, and the region, connectivity region. Okay, well, I'm going to ask another question about rail shortly, so you don't have to respond to this. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the budget. Police and fire, I am told, are 75% of the city's general fund. What specifically do you intend to lower the cost of these vital services? Sell boats and helicopters, combine services with the county, combine the multiple E911 centers? Let's begin with Ed Chiranchik.
Could you say that again?
Yes, I will. Police and fire.
I really was trying to understand the question.
I'm sorry.
You went pretty fast for my
police
slow
and
mind.
Police and fire, 75% of the city's general fund.
I heard that part.
Okay. Well, what would you do, since that is such a huge part of the budget and we're going to have to cut, would you cut some of that? And if so, where would you cut it?
Would I cut the police and fire budget or other budgets? I'm trying to understand the question.
Well, part of the police and fire.
You got to look at the whole budget together, and you can't separate police and fire. I mean, it's an absolutely essential function. When someone gets shot, someone has a heart attack, everyone has to be there. They are on call. So if you're going to deal with it and you get to the point where you can't cut anything else, you reduced whatever you can, you consolidate what you can, and you got to go and say, all right, we're going to have to reduce, in my opinion, compensation. I would hate to reduce levels of service if we can avoid it. Our public employees are reasonably well paid, and I would rather say, all right, we're all going to take a haircut in these bad times rather than cut levels of service. Okay. That doesn't mean that we won't do non-economic efficiency measures. But if I'm understanding your question, my approach would be reduce compensation. Now, I know that requires participation of the unions, so I can't see that sign and look at him. Sure. All right, so I'll stop there.
Okay, all right. All right, Bob, do you understand what I'm talking about there? Okay.
Mitch, I do. And I can tell you unequivocally that I am not going to do anything that will reduce the level of service for public safety in the city of Tampa. Let me tell you about where we are now. Since 2003, the Tampa Police Department has been reshaped, it's been reformed, it's been re-energized, it's been rid of the cronyism. It is a department that is lean and hungry, and other departments are coming from all over the country to see how we do things. Chief Hogue, Chief Castor, this administration have reduced crime 60%. Do you know that that means that there is 100,000 less victims? That's you and I since 2003. This is a department that you should be proud of. It is doing yeoman's work. It is aggressive. They have changed the manpower. They have changed the way they attack crime. This is the model for policing all over the country. It used to be New York City with Mayor Giuliani. It is now Tampa Police Department. You should be proud of them. We need to maintain them and give them the tools to do their job because it affects all of our lives. If we don't have safe neighborhoods, we don't have a city.
Rose Rolita.
Right now, we're down 56% in the big four, which is auto thefts, auto burglaries, robberies, and thefts. No, I would not reduce anything in terms of taking away any equipment. However, where we have to do the difference there is twofold. First of all, look at the pensions. A long time ago, counties and cities were trying to increase the pension pocket so that it would compete with private organizations. Now it's too inflated. We have to look at that. And while we know that our budget is what it is, to increase revenue, we have to do two things. Look at the reduction of non-essential services and do something there, and grow the economy by giving incentives that don't cause expenditures of current revenues.
Dick Ricco.
I think it's about 49% of the total budget.
Is that right?
something
That's
of
right.
that nature.
That's right, it's 49% of
All
what
right, I
you
got
said.
that information.
By the
from
same
Budget
token,
Advisory Committee.
that's okay, you got it wrong. The ad valorem tax doesn't even pay for the police department, and it's continuing to go down. That's a problem. Certainly, you've got to look at the pension funds. When we take over, one of us here, there's going to be a bunch of cops retiring. You're going to have to look at that a different way. I have the support of the police union. They supported me. You know what I promised them? Nothing, except that I would meet with them. When I was mayor the first time, they made $5,000 a year, had to buy their own gun. You know why crime went down? Because we added 145 police officers. We got them all their cars back to take home last time I was mayor. Asked the chief why it's going down, because you have more police officers per capita than most cities do. We're about the same as across the bay in Orlando. We're doing a great job. That's the last department you ever want to cut. I've been to 4 of their funerals. I had a police radio in my car. Every time I was there, I answered calls morning, noon, and night. And it taught me a lot about them and about this city. We don't all live in the same place, gang.
Tom
And
Scott.
some people don't get that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's 49% of the budget. That's correct. I think you have to look at the budget in whole. I agree with Ed on that. I think I look at the budget in whole, and I would say that you have to consider all options. However, I agree that you try to keep the same level of service for your public safety because it's key, it's important. But I think if you cannot, as you look at your budget, get where you need to be, then you got to be negotiating and talking to the union because there is a contract. So you got to meet with them and say, we can sit here and do all this talking, but there's a contract, a union contract. So you got to
Absolutely.
sit and negotiate. I believe Philadelphia, one of those countries, cities just got through with the one union, and they changed the whole pension totally got total and went over to a 401 that they agreed to. So you have to sit down and talk with them and have a conversation with them, the pension board, the financial advisors, and then you make a decision what's best for the city, what's best for public safety.
Thank you very much. Let's do another special wildcard question. This went to Bob Buckhorn. Mr. Buckhorn, in your Safe Streets platform, you say of the area that we're in right now, Ybor City, a quote from the website, Ybor City continues to pose a law enforcement challenge. The Buckhorn administration will have zero tolerance for disruptive behavior in our historic district. This includes bars and other establishments serving alcohol that continue to flaunt the codes and zoning laws currently in place. Now, crime is down 70% in Ybor since 2003, but no doubt perceptions still remain about this area. But coupled with your professed admiration for former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani's crackdown in the early 1990s and the whole 6-foot rule council vote in 1999, should those who care about civil liberties in the city worry about a Buckhorn administration, particularly in light of thousands of protesters coming to Tampa in a year and a half for the Republican National Convention?
Only if they break the law. No, Mitch, they shouldn't. We're going to welcome the world to come see us, and we're going to showcase Tampa for the world, and we do that better than anybody in the country. Obviously, with 4 Super Bowls, we know how to do these things. But I think the heart of your question is the issue about Ybor City. I mean, we've invested an awful lot of money here in Ybor City. This is a jewel for us. We can't allow what takes place here at 3 o'clock in the morning to continue without doing severe detriment and having a severe impact on the investment that we've made. We've got to make this a safe environment. Those clubs and those bars that do not subscribe to the law, do not obey the law, continue to flaunt the alcoholic beverages licenses need to be held accountable. And I intend to do that. I think it will be to the benefit of Ybor City, and I think it will be benefit and the safety of the people that come down here to patronize it.
Anybody else want to chime in? Okay, Mr. Greco.
Yeah.
Or Rose? Rose.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Rose and I both were around here. My mother and dad's hardware store was 2 blocks away. When I took over the mayor the first time, urban renewal had cleaned out everything. We went and made HCC take most of the land so they wouldn't build low-cost apartments like they did on Newsfield Boulevard. Ybor City is a jewel to us. Someone asked me the other day, why would you concentrate on Ybor City? And my answer was one you'll probably laugh at, but erase Ybor City, and you have conventions here. Where are you going to take them? Pancake House or Joe Redner's? What do you got left? This place is a jewel to us. And every time something comes up that happens, as Ybor City is 2 miles from here and so forth, you make it work. Look at all the money we've spent here. But look, K-Force is here. They stayed. HCC has expanded. The Camden Apartments, all the new buildings, if you'd have done nothing, it'd be gone. Ybor City is important, very important, and I will concentrate on it night and day. I love this place. It's part of Tampa, and, you know, we do the best we can with it. It's one of the only places in the United States where you have 25,000, 30,000 people on a weekend. That's valid to any community.
Thanks very much, Mr. Greco. Anybody else want to pick up on that? Rose Ferlito.
I do. Ybor City Museum, formerly known as the Ferlita Bakery. That certainly tells me what historic value Ybor City has. And again, to echo you in another area, thank you, Governor Scott, because I understand that's on the chopping board, but we will find it.
Yeah,
It's funny what you said, Dick, and it's true. When I had my drugstore on Nebraska Avenue, I remember people coming in and saying, man, I just got bugged in Ybor City. Where were you? Two blocks down the street. That was not Ybor City. I think sometimes Ybor City gets a bad rap. And in terms of enforcing the rules, let me tell you what. Everybody has to abide by the rules, whether they're in Ybor City, whether they're in Seminole Heights, any place else. That's the right thing to do, and rules are for all of Tampa.
Ed Tereshik.
I think Ybor City's mission and vision is off course. We have high-speed rail going to open here in 2015, and there's 40 million tourists up the road. I think that where it's off course is we should be focusing on heritage tourism, and it's kind of becoming like a bar district, like around a college town. And I think that might have some short-term gain for some of the property owners, but the real value of Ybor City is bringing it back as a real historic place and opening it up and connecting it to those 30, 40 million tourists down there, connecting Ybor City to the Culture Center, Cultural Arts District, Channel Side, Tampa Heights, to create real places for real people. That needs to be what our focus is. We need to make these things connect. We need to reinvest in our historic buildings and put an emphasis on, in my opinion, heritage tourism rather than alcoholic beverage permits.
Yes, sir. Thomas Scott.
Yeah, I agree with, I think, with what Ed just said, but in particular, you got to point out that most of the bad name or rap you're getting is the nightclubs or the liquor bars or the bars 3 o'clock in the morning. During the day, you come into Ybor, it's quiet, it's nice, you can eat a good meal, here, and so you want that same kind of atmosphere in the evening, and so you have to work on changing that environment for Ybor City so that tourists when they do come to town, they can come into Ybor City like they once did and find that it's a safe place, a good place to come and have a good meal in the evening as well as during the day.
Okay.